I've been living out of the UK for the past 2 years as a digital nomad all across the world: South America, Australia, Southeast Asia, the States, and now Europe. Currently in France, I'm going to be spending some time in Spain, which I've done a lot of before. And I personally do not want to go back and live in the UK. Now, you've probably seen a lot of these videos of there's been a lot of people leaving the UK and for good reason. And I'm not here to bash the UK at all. I spent many good years there, many good years in London, and really enjoyed my life. However, I feel like the country's changed a lot, and I simply just want to highlight four key reasons. And that's the beauty of travel. When you travel to different countries, your eyes are opened, you see different cultures, you see different ways of life, right? And so, like I said, this isn't me being negative on the UK. This is just four reasons why I don't necessarily want to live in the UK. And if they could be improved upon, then great. The UK would be a great country to live in again. So, first of all, cost of living. We all know this, but it's almost got to a joke, right? And we know just how much everything has gone up. And it's near impossible to live a good lifestyle unless you earn a gazillion pounds. And you go to different countries, currently in France at the moment, and go to the supermarket, nowhere near as expensive. Go out for a nice meal, nowhere near as expensive. Accommodation, Airbnbs, nowhere near as expensive in the UK. Every time I go back to the UK, it's just so expensive. And you're like, why? If you were paying for a good standard of living and things were nice and food was nice and accommodation was great and the high streets were great and that kind of stuff, you wouldn't mind, right? But the cost of living is just not worth what you're paying for it. You go to different countries and there's more beautiful countries for less price points in different perspectives. So the cost of living is just got out of hand. Second, and no surprise here, but the weather. And I lived in London from the age of 21 up until like 28, and I knew it was bad weather. We have like 6 months of really bad weather. In the winter, dark at 4 p.m, dark until like 9 a.m. It's just brutal, right? But until you actually take yourself out of an environment, and when I was living in Southeast Asia for 6 months, sun every day, you just realize how much weather affects you. I was so happy, I was so energetic, I wanted to be outside all the time, had a nice little tan, and weather just makes such a big difference. And I want to live in a country. We all know like how amazing London is, right? When the weather's nice, but it's only nice for like 2 weeks of the year, And also the health benefits as well of being in a nice warm environment is crucial, and the ripple effect of that as well. Always being out, easier to get your steps in, etc. So weather. Third is the environment. And what I mean by that is the social aspect. Now, there are some people that probably have a great social aspect, and I had a great network of friends and still do, but it's just not as natural to meet up with people and go for brunch or go for a hike or just do something active. When I go to places like, I'm in France at the moment, right? And I was in Paris and I was walking down the streets, and you have people my age just sitting outside coffee shops in the morning, catching up before work or after work, having not necessarily a drink, just being outside and having some type of drink, whether it be alcoholic or non-alcoholic or another coffee or whatever it might be. Just a way of life in countries like Spain and France, and those are the two that I mainly know, and I've travelled and seen kind of what the culture is. It's just a lot more natural, and you're walking to coffee shops to catch up with friends and stuff. In the UK, it's, I don't know, me personally, all my friends are like spread out, so it's always like you plan well in advance. Whereas here, it just feels very more off the cuff, a lot more natural and a lot more social environment. Fourth is just how busy it's got, right? We all know how many people have moved to the country, how many people live in the country. I think it's like almost 80 million, and it's a small country, right? The roads have got so busy. Anywhere you want to go somewhere, it just takes so much time. You know, I go to the Cotswolds now, right, which is supposed to be idyllic, peaceful countryside. It's so busy, you know. I know it's quite a touristy destination now, but I swear like it never used to be that busy a few years ago. And again, I was in Paris the other week, and it was a lot more walkable city. You know, I think there's only like 3 million people in Paris. Don't know how it compares size-wise, but it was a lot more walkable. There was space to move around, parks to sit in, etc., and it just felt less busy. And so, yeah, there's a lot of people in the UK, it feels like. So anyway, those are the 4 things that I've really noticed just living outside of the UK. Would love to hear your thoughts. So hopefully that didn't come across too negative. You know, I think those are all things that you could kind of get around and you could potentially change and you could kind of make work in a way. But, you know, this is just some observations, some thoughts. Being outside of the UK, this is what I have noticed. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below.